my name is Miranda, and today I'm here to review The Mirror King by Jodi Meadows, which is the second and final book in the Orphan Queen duology. Jodi Meadows, I have to say, she's a really underrated author because I don't hear too many people talking about her books or saying that they read her books, but she's a flippin' fantastic author. She wrote previously, I believe it's called the Asunder trilogy, which those are those super pretty covers that you've seen where like the girl has like the mask on that looks like a butterfly. Trust me, you've seen the covers, and the books are just as good. And now Orphan Queen is her second series after that, and it is just as good, even though it's so different. Thunder was in a dystopian world, while Orphan Queen and Mirror King take place in a fantasy world that Jodi has created, and it is absolutely amazing. Now, if you're watching this video, I've assumed you've read Orphan Queen, but for a quick backstory, basically this world is about this girl, Wilhelmina, who when she was a little girl, her kingdom was taken over and her parents were killed, and she's been on the run basically ever since then, and now she's plotting her way to retake her kingdom with some other nobility children from her kingdom that survived, and they've been planning and plotting. So not only is she a queen, but she's super kick butt because she knows how to take care of herself, she knows how to use a knife, she knows how to defend herself, she knows how to fight. She is freaking amazing. The Orphan Queen, the whole plot of that basically was the next move in their plan to retake her country was to infiltrate inside the Indigo Kingdom, the castle where the king and the prince live, and she was going to learn as much as she could before she tried to overthrow the kingdom and take back what is hers. This book takes off immediately after Orphan Queen ends. We have everything happening with Tobiah, how he's like bleeding out, and he's got this arrow, and Will's like, what the frack, this is the boy I love, but he just said he was going to marry someone else because he has this duty to his country, and everything's basically going willy-nilly bananas. Since this is the last book in the series, I don't want to spoil what happens, so it's going to be very hard to talk about what happens without spoiling it, so let's just focus on Will for now. Will has always been a very strong character, and this book is her, again, being strong. Like, there are times that I read this, and I'm just blown away by how strong of a character Wilhelmina is. Like, the choices she makes, how she defends herself, how she fights. It's amazing to me to read such a strong character, and it's really empowering. So props to Jodi for writing such an empowering and inspiring character who is strong not only in the fighting sense, but also in the mental sense, and that she's very smart and very capable and can really think things through. And I'm very happy to have gotten to read a character like her, because literally I'm reading it and I'm like, you go, Wilhelmina, you are such a badass. But of course, it can't all be happy-lucky, and a big struggle in this book is that Wilhelmina is kind of trying to reconcile who she's been with who she needs to be as a queen, because the way she's lived her life, she's lived it very secretive in the shadows with kind of just these 10 or so kids that she has to kind of lead with Patrick, and now being queen, she's going to be in charge of this whole country, and when you have a whole country to be in charge of, that's so many people, so you kind of have to make decisions that maybe aren't for the best for everyone, but they're best for the general overall, and that's something that really goes against Will as a person, because she's always someone who wants to be able to take care of everyone and to do the best for everyone. Like, she's someone that's really affected if even one person is left behind or one person suffers because of a decision she made that saved everyone else. A very compassionate person, so to be queen is really, she's struggling to reconcile this compassion part of herself, this empathetic part of herself, with what a queen must do and the decisions she must make. And she's kind of hearing from James, who is Tobiah's cousin and best friend, that this is what Tobiah has also struggled with himself, and she knows he said it before, but she's never really understood when he's saying, like, my hands are tied, I can't do anything. She's like, what the frick do you mean your hands are tied? Go out and fight and be who they want you to be. She's starting to understand that, oh yeah, sometimes a queen has to step back and really make decisions that not everyone agrees with for the better of the kingdom as a whole, and sometimes she has to sacrifice her own happiness for the kingdom as a whole. So really this book, I would say, is her struggling to reconcile who she's going to be as a queen. She's had this thing on her since she was a little girl that she's going to be queen, but she hasn't really thought of what that means, all that power, all that importance. So I feel like this book is really her coming even into more terms with siding with Tobiah, I guess. Like, I feel like in the first book she definitely aligned more with Black Knife, so for her, Black Knife and Tobiah have always been two separate people, in that she says she gets along more with Black Knife than Tobiah. But in this book, I think she's starting to realize more of Tobiah's perspective and his duty as king and as prince and how he deals with that. So I think that was really, really nice to see. And then also this book had two really, really good plot twists that like absolutely floored me, and I dropped the book in shock. I was like, what is happening? I can't take this. One happens about, I think, like only 30% of the way through, where you're like, what the frick? And then the other one happens really mostly towards the end, and it leads to some devastating things, but they're both such good plot twists that I have to hand it to her to throw in not only one amazing one, but two is like fantastic. I am so super, super impressed, and I don't want to spoil them, but just trust me, they are very good. Now, the ending is what kind of threw me, because it was kind of one of those like, wow, everything worked! Wow, we're so happy in like 10 pages. And like the things that did happen that were sad, like there were people who sacrificed themselves for what they believed in, people who sacrificed their happiness for what they believed in, and all of it's compressed into like 20 pages. So like it just doesn't have the same emotional impact. Like I was more mad at the sacrifices that was happening than sad. Like I was just like, don't do this. This is stupid. And it's not like they were bad sacrifices. It was just that they felt like so rushed that I didn't get the emotional impact I really wanted them to. But the last chapter is so freaking adorable. It has honestly one of my favorite quotes ever from a book. And I can't say it because it would spoil it. But I will tell you the page number so you can go and look at it if you have the book. It's on 525 and the beginning of 526. My favorite quote in a book probably ever, and I just think it's so cute. Overall, I really enjoyed the story. Like I said, I think it just worked out a little too conveniently at the end. Like I would have liked if it was spread out a little more, where we saw things starting to work out and not all of a sudden at the end it's like, hey, this thing actually worked, if that makes sense, because we're also trying to deal with the Wraith. I think it's Wraith. It might be Wrath, but Wraith problem that's invading the country and that kingdoms are falling to and that we really have no way of stopping. The problem I feel like was kind of dealt with a little too simplistically for me. Like I would have liked if there was more to it, I feel like. But overall, the story was really good, and I would recommend it just for the fact that Will is such a badass and strong character, and I feel like people who like Selena from Throne of Glass and all those kind of badass, kick-ass characters, you're really going to love Will. I think she's amazing, especially if you love, like, Kestrel. I think Kestrel is how I would describe her. Like, if you take Selena's fighting powers and Kestrel's, like, mind, strategy stuff, that's Will, and I absolutely love her for it. So I would definitely give this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was a great ending. I almost wish there was another book in the series. I wish it was a trilogy, but I respect Jodi's decision to make it a duology. I absolutely loved it. I mean, this cover alone will draw you in, will it not? If you have read it, please feel free to leave your thoughts about either this or the Orphan Queen down below in the comments. And also make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel down below to be told to make all sorts of new videos. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!